Let's then move on to Group L, which I have called the other group of Red Bull hate teams. We've got FC Cincinnati, we've got New York City, and we've got Querétaro. Give me locations, give me signings.
All right. FCC versus Querétaro is going to be at TQL Stadium in Cincinnati. FCC versus NYCFC is going to be at TQL Stadium. And NYCFC versus Querétaro is take me out to the ball game. We are at Yankee Stadium. So that's two home games for FCC, one home game for NYC, and none for Querétaro. In terms of big signings for winter 2024, for FCC, I've gone for Miles Robinson, the USMNT center back coming over from Atlanta. For NYC, I've gone for Agustin Ojeda, who hasn't played a ton for NYC this year, but I think the price tag enough is big enough to put him on the big signings list. And then for Querétaro, I've gone for Samuel Sosa, who came over from Talleres. For big signings, summer 2024, nothing so far for FCC or NYCFC. And for Querétaro, I've gone for Federico Lertora, who came over from Tijuana.
The other thing I'm not buying is this FCC to the moon nonsense after getting run by the New York Red Bulls last night. Pat Noonan's crew is having another solid year after their 2023 Shield run, even without the likes of Vasquez or Moreno, but they have been on a pretty bad run of form late, still second in the East, now 5 points off the Shield, three losses in a row. Injuries are hitting them hard, but they're still within, or they were within grasp. It might be gone now, truthfully, but they're going to want to have a better Leagues Cup run this year. They lost they lost on PKs to Nashville last time around, and they are going to want to go a bit deeper in that because if you can't get the Shield, this is another pretty good way to get into CCC next year. So they'll want to make that deep run. So who are you watching for this group?
Let me ask first, who's injured? Because I don't want to pick somebody that's just not going to be at Leagues Cup now.
Why don't you do this? You pick them. I'll tell you if they're injured.
I just picked Lucho. I picked Lucho Acosta.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's the obvious one. If my stupid FBref would load, I could give you some more accurate statistics. But obviously this man is the heart and soul of this attack. He has been for years, ever since he came over, and he has continued. He has been the main part of the revitalization of FCC, and I think it will continue to kind of run through him. I think the team has been pretty good about scoring goals, and that I could probably check while I talk about it. But I think the issue has more so been the defense as of late. Yeah, 44 goals scored, which is it's pretty solid. I mean, it's not the best in the league, but 33 goals conceded from them seems again not bad at all, but feels a little bit out of character for them. Usually they're very good defensively, and I think they were previously. But Miazga injury, and I think Robinson missed some time with Copa America as well, so the defense has been a little bit shaky and changing. So I think it's going to be big on Lucho to step up here and continue to get this team scoring goals, because if they're going to continue to be poor defensively, then they're going to have to score to make up for it. MLS 4.0 style.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about when I talked about injuries because their back line is shattered right now. Miazga pretty much out for the year, Hagland out for the year, Robinson out for Olympics. Like they're running with Kip Keller and Ian Murphy in the back. They played DeAndre Yedlin as a center back last night. I mean, it was
Oh,
they're
yikes.
all over the shop. So for me, that's why I also looked more attacking, and I'm going with Luca Orellano. The converted wingback from winger has been an absolute menace on the flanks this year, and I really want to see what he does against hopefully some more competition from over the border if they can get out of this group. Very, very interested to see how these guys do because, as we mentioned, this is going to be you're going against New York City, which is pretty good in the attack right now, and a Querétaro side that is okay, not great, but lots of stuff to keep in mind there. So
It's crazy how Luca Orellano, he's like a straight regen of Alvaro Barreal for them.
isn't it crazy?
It was
Well,
like
that's
a
the thing. They're like,
copy
oh man,
paste.
yeah, they're like, oh, we're gonna bring this guy in and he's gonna be the replacement. And it was literally like, oh yeah, he's a winger, an Argentinian winger who we're gonna try and convert to left wing back, and all he does is the same exact thing Barreal did.
Yep.
So yeah, he definitely want to see what he does because he's just been so good this year, and be very interested to see more of him because I'll be watching a lot of these games. So let's head on over to the baseball diamond and talk about Bum City population. These guys, it's New York City FC. The baseball club is doing fine, but they're not as good as New York Red Bulls. So, I mean, are they even really that good? Probably not, right? Fifth place, they're one spot behind Metro. 13 off the shield, 10 off the drop. Nick Cushing went from a seat that was burning hot at the start of the year to being pretty good, but he can definitely improve on the Leagues Cup performance of 2023, where they lost in the first round to, oh, that's right, the mighty, mighty New York Metro. Let's go. Who are you watching?
With NYCFC, I feel like for the last maybe at least year and a half, maybe 2 years, we've been talking about how this team has been really missing a striker, someone to score goals for them. They have a plethora of wingers, like an insane amount of wingers, and they've had good number 10s, but they've been missing that guy to score goals since Tatia's left. And I think they're starting to find that with Alonso Martinez, and that's my guy to watch. He's got 8 goals, 3 assists so far in 850 minutes. Is a very, very good return. Whenever I see NYC scoring, I see him getting involved the majority of the time. And I think he's going to be super important for them in this tournament because, as I said before, they have a lot of guys who can create very well, like Santiago Rodriguez, Hans Wolf. Yeah, tons of people who can create, and their problem has been scoring goals. And I think Martinez is going to have to do that for them in this tournament if they're going to be successful.
No disagreements there. I think he's really, really stepped into a great role with that side. Begrudgingly saying so. He's really stepped up pretty well for them. My player to watch is highly rated English outside back Christian McFarlane, already scouted by Man City at 17 years old and likely moving over very, very soon. They've had a lot of injuries in that spot with O'Toole going down and Ilinic going down. I believe it was Ilinic who went down. But he's been getting a ton of time, lots of starts, and he can definitely raise that profile of his as he gets more attention. So just something to watch. He's looked good too. Like he doesn't look like he's out of place. He looked pretty solid. Now, City, by my memory, has been okay, not great over the last couple of games. So they drew to Orlando, they drew to Atlanta, they drew to Chicago. They haven't won since Montreal early July. So they're not in the best run of form. But this whole group seems to be not in the best run of form. But McFarlane has been looking pretty good in short bursts. For another team that's not in some great form, let's go over to Liga MX and talk about Querétaro, which was my favorite Liga MX side for like 22 seconds back in the day before I realized how hard it was to watch Liga MX.
You mean for that hot second when Ronaldinho was there?
No, that was the reason I picked them because of Ronaldinho, but he was long gone by that. But that was the time that Adam and I were just randomly picking teams like Forest Green Rover and this team and that team. We just started picking random teams. And then they had that whole like really bad fan containment problem that was a whole nother conversation. But Mauro Gerk is in charge, and he's been in charge since 2022. Looks to take this team of former MLS legends like Ake Loba, Ronaldo Cisneros, and Lucas Rodriguez to another deep Leagues Cup run after making it to the quarterfinals in 2023 before being bounced by Philly. In Liga MX, they finished in 10th in the Clausura last season, but they've started really poorly, 0-4 with a -6 goal differential, leading them to dead last in the Apertura this season. It's not a super stacked group, but who are you watching?
Yeah, at first I had Federico Leitora, who I talked about before, but I don't think I can justify putting a defender here when they've conceded 9 goals in 4 games. So I'm going to go with the other person I talked about, Samuel Sosa, who joined them in winter 2024 and made 11 starts for them. Somehow only played 662 minutes in 11 starts. That feels really low, but he had 3 goals, 1 assist in that brief time that he got to play with them last season. So far this year, he has started 3 of 4 games, 232 minutes, and has a goal and an assist so far. So while the team has been struggling mightily, he has been able to contribute despite that bad start.
Interesting. Yeah, this was a tough one to pick, right? Like when you're dead last and not scoring a lot and doing that. So as we mentioned, when you're in it deep, you need to have somebody who's going to step up and say, we're going to come together, we're going to keep on the same good mindset, and we are going to push forward together as a group. So I'm looking to watch 30-year-old Kevin Escamilla, the captain of the side, according to Transfer Market, who will have a very big task on his hands to not only keep the team together defensively as their number 6, but also to find a way to keep them together mentally and motivate them for better performances out of this group, believing that they can get a result and move on and go deep in this tournament. It's not going to be easy. It's never easy. It's very easy to have positive spirits when you're winning games. It's very, very difficult to turn around a locker room of guys who are already demoralized because they keep getting beat down and beat down and beat down. So all eyes on the captain to see what he can do there. The other thing that's pretty easy for some of us, guys who are positive in the money line for predictions, are predictions themselves. So why don't you give me your standings?
I'm going FCC 1. I back Lucho as the best game changer out of this group. He has had a ridiculous season so far. He's had ridiculous seasons in the past seasons. Even if the team is struggling right now, I think he could pull it off for them. I've gone NYCFC 2. I think they're very solid defensively, which is a good baseline to have for the team. And then if Santiago Rodriguez and Alonso Martinez can get a couple of good opportunities here and there, I think it could give NYC a good shot to get out of this group. And then I've got Querétaro last. I just think their form coming in is really poor. And I don't think it's just going to magically change around with the start of this tournament.
I'll tell you that both FCC and City are so lucky they drew Querétaro because any other team knocks one of them out.
I don't know about any other team, but there's a decent number of teams.
Well, no, I genuinely believe that there's a good handful of teams, pretty much any other team, that would knock FCC out in their current form and their defensive problems right now. Like, genuinely, I watched them play, and they were just a defensive nightmare without Miles and without Miazga and without Haglund. But because they're playing Querétaro, I've got New York City at 1, I've got FCC at 2, and I've got Querétaro at 3. New York City has enough in the attack, especially when they're playing at Yankee Stadium, if you want to use the home game mantra, that they are going to be able to get results with that team. Matt Freese is still playing really, really well. He'll be able to keep them in games, and I back him in penalties. Again, I think FCC doesn't have to get by Querétaro, but probably gets beat by New York City. And then thanks for coming, Querétaro. Have a good month off, and we'll see you next year type of thing.